Hello, everyone. Welcome to Nails and Beauty Talk, NFTs, crypto, and Web3. I'm your host, Asia the Bird. So I have a very special guest with us today. She is a musical artist and also an NFT creator. Please welcome Vessy Mink. Hello, Vessy. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Asia. Thank you so much for having me. It's good to be here.
I'm glad to have you. Now, I want to go ahead and kickstart this interview by where are you originally from and how did you get started in the world of NFTs, Web3, and crypto?
I was born in Chicago, and the world of crypto kind of took me over about 7 months ago. I'm the musical director for the FUNKYiPUPPETS. We're like the new Muppets. We talk about courageous dialogue. There is a lot that we have been doing on Clubhouse for the past year. And so I met BK Han out of Singapore, who's an NFT. He's like an NFT guru to me, and he took me under his wing. He was teaching the FUNKYiPUPPETS about NFTs. And there's a company called madbop.events. And I was talking to Russell, the CEO, and everybody that I met is through the Sync Summit, which happened last year as well with Mark Frazier, which was a 3-day immersive online Zoom. You know, you're going to meet 100 keynote speakers all about how to get your music into the ad agencies and get them synced and licensed. Now, what led me to that class was a class called Six Figure Songwriting with Kathy Heller, and Sonnet Simmons and John Kleinbell were the teachers of that class. Right. And that was a 3-month immersive, which I met a ton of songwriters who want to be in the space of sync music. And I've had some songs synced, and my brother gifted me the class. I would have been able to take it. So big up to George. Thank you, George. Because what that started was a whole roller coaster of meeting new people in the sync and music space. And then eventually the crypto world, which, you know, NFTs. What is an NFT? So we're still all learning what that is. But that's how I got into that's like the short answer. There's so much.
All right, cool. Now, in terms of music, based on, you know, your profile and your background, like you're very heavy into music and especially music creation. So tell us about, like, in terms of music, what does music mean to you? And what are your experiences within the music industry?
So music led me to LA in 1998. I was pursuing, you know, to make a dent in the music industry and become a recording artist. And so that's where I got my start. Although my first band was with my sister. She named us Just Blame Eve. I come from a family of feminists. My mother was the director of Woman Made Gallery for 27 years, which is a non-for-profit in Chicago. And so music and activism and feminism and all of that comes together for me. As far as, you know, getting my start, I got a demo deal with Virgin Records. They gave me $5,000 and said, buy yourself a studio and get yourself a desktop and a Neumann mic and a Focusrite and give me a demo. I need 5 songs, Tony Berg. And I was like, just learned how to do all that. And, you know, my boyfriend at the time, we were in a band called the Lovesick Lunatics, and we had done a record. John and Missy Butcher out of Chicago. They were my patrons in music. Ultimately, they, you know, they had put an ad out in the Chicago Reader. At the time, I was working as a receptionist at a business downtown Chicago called Unified Management. And, you know, Bob let me bring my guitar as the, you know, I was always allowed to bring my guitar and kind of be the receptionist and play songs and chill and just kind of always have my guitar. The strolling minstrel, Asia, if you will, kind of. And so I answered this ad in the Reader, and they were looking for a fire starter. Those were the words, kind of in the prodigy, you know, genre of just electronica. And I had just done a demo with one of my restaurant bosses called Dion. I worked in a lot of restaurants as a bartender, waitress. I did a show every week at a place called Iggy's in Chicago, a weekly. And so we did that demo, and I sent that in as my audition. And they chose me. They picked me up in a limo, brought me to St. Charles, Illinois, and said, we're going to do this demo together. We chose you. And you know, listen to this. And they had a little studio there. They're like Kenny Aronoff, who's like one of the top session players, plays with John Fogerty, and it's just all around like the greatest guy in the music industry. He's so professional and so amazing. And they're like, that's Kenny playing on a, you know, because I played them a song called Shiver that I wrote. And they're like, wow, that sounds like exactly perfect for this instrumental we already have with Kenny Arnoff. He's playing on pots and pans in our kitchen. You know, these are very well-to-do people. They're, you know, John's father was the artist for Precious Moments, the little porcelain dolls, you know, that everybody, you know, who's into that keeps in their china cabinets and stuff, that are like, you know, the two little kids and the Love Is. And so they came from that artistic background. And that led me to eventually 1 year later, you know, we did a demo together of 3 songs, and they helped me get out to LA. And I just started busking on the Santa Monica, first on the Venice boardwalk. And then I started busking, you know, where you have your guitar out and you're playing for money, because there was this blues guy on Venice on the boardwalk. I remember taking the bus thinking, of course my apartment's going to be right by the ocean. Just how naive I was at 22. Of course it's good. What? And then I was like on an hour bus ride, you know, to the ocean and Venice for the first time by myself. It was very empowering to just go and start becoming who I am. And there was this blues player with his guitar out, and I was like, huh. And I was just like, you know, I'm from Chicago blues, you know, that's where I grew up. And then I went and tried my luck on the promenade. Someone had said the Santa Monica promenade, you can get a permit and play and make money every day. And there's all sorts of artists there. No cars drive by. They're all stores and stuff. So I did that. And I actually, my first experience there isn't such a, I'll always remember it, because I was like, oh, I'll figure out how to get a permit. I'll just start playing and someone will tell me how to get a permit. And an officer came by, Officer Brown. This is absolutely what happened. And said, do you have a permit? And I said, no, I don't. I would like to get one. He's like, show me your ID. And, you know, there were a bunch of people there just on the benches listening. I'd already been playing for like 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And I was like, well, I can't show you my ID because I just turned it in to get my Los Angeles license. And he's like, well, what's your name? And I was young and not thinking, like, I was thinking stage name, give him a stage name, and just for fun, he'll write out a ticket and you'll have a, you know, memorabilia. Just so silly. So I got arrested and spent a night in jail. That's how that one ended, because I had lied about who I was. Not what you were expecting, and not what I was expecting to share either. I don't think I've told anybody that on film, but I gave a funny name. Then I was like, it was just my stage name. He's like, that's it. You have the right to remain silent. You know, meanwhile, people are coming up, start to give me money in I was like, it's too late, y'all. They were putting money up to the car. Like you know what? It's just such a strange scene, you know, to be like, and little did I know that if you get arrested, like 10% bail is like, if it's $500, it's $50. But I had already had a manager by then, Diane Labuda, who I met on the promenade. And she said, well, I'll come and bail you out. It's ridiculous what happened. And I was like, no, I don't want you to spend $500. So I didn't know about the system. I knew nothing about it. I didn't want her to spend the money. So I just did my one day. And that's the only time I've ever been arrested. Can we keep that out of the podcast? Just kidding. Asia, it's just like, Vessy, once she goes, she's not going to stop. We don't know what she's going to tell us.
Yeah, that's a very, very interesting story.
I've only been there a month. It was so weird.
Yeah, that is really, really weird. Now I want to get into the FUNKYiPUPPETS. So tell us about the FUNKYiPUPPETS and how did that band come about?
So the FUNKYiPUPPETS were the first audio theater puppet troupe, and they were born on Clubhouse. This is Kabuki. This is Ra. This is the director. That's his character that he made, Ra. Ra is based off of George Clinton, Asia.
Wow.
And then hold on a minute here. This is Vibrato. That's me. And there's more characters here. Let's see. So yes, the FUNKYiPUPPETS. The FUNKYiPUPPETS came to be on Clubhouse, and I had landed in a room with IPC. They call him I Paint Creatures, who's a multi-level storyteller who used to work with George Lucas Films, who's the creator of Star Wars. And he is absolutely fascinating. And I met him in the Sync Report room. At the time, it was called 2 Cents Music. And that Sync Summit that I had done is where I met Jason Rothberg. And I had reached out on LinkedIn, and Jason sent me a link to Clubhouse and said, come check out Clubhouse. And so one day I did. And I was just hanging out there, you know, learning kind of what's Clubhouse. I had the app, but I hadn't really spent much time on it. And I thought it was very weird, you know, months earlier. And there was a live directorial brief being given by a man named Dirk Simon, who was talking about a real life event that happened in the Middle East, where there was this chase, and they're doing this they're doing a film, a feature film on it, and they needed the chase scene music. And, you know, I have Bulgarian roots. My father's from Eastern Europe. My mother's from Germany. And I have a lot of songs in my cachet of like from Bulgaria and Macedonia.
Mhm.
And, you know, I raised my hand because he said, does anyone have any questions? You know how Clubhouse is. And I raised my hand and I went up there and I said, I have a song. And told them a little bit about myself. And then I did my song and they were like, oh, wow, you know, that's interesting. And it's in Bulgarian. I sang in Bulgarian and they're probably like, what, wow, what is this? You know, something different from what we're normally, you know, seeing here is what I would imagine that they thought. And then IPC gets introduced and he weaves everybody on stage into a poem and he does it on the spot. He does a free flow. He's a haiku champion. You know, he's like, he knows how to flow and he just weaves everybody's name and empowers everybody on stage and braids us all into one beautiful epic poem. And that's how I met IPC, the director and writer of the FUNKYiPUPPETS, who later, you know, made me the music director and said, you're going to do all our music. And I hadn't even applied for the job, Asia. I didn't even know what I was doing, but he said, you know, in the way that George Lucas works, George Lucas, you know, he just saw talent in people and he gave them the job, even if they didn't have the resume, even if they didn't have and that he made a lot of people successful that way because he opened the door, he bridged the divide. And that's kind of how IPC has explained the way that he does things based off that he sees value in someone's character or their art form. And then he gives them, you know, full disclosure to kind of create their representation in what he's designed. And
Right.
so the FUNKYiPUPPETS, you know, we're like this, you know, and IPC and I did this song together actually for the Dirk Simon directorial brief, which we turned in. And Troy Phoenix Cello is his name. He's a blind cellist in the FUNKYiPUPPETS and his character's Kabuki. And he's, you know, he loves Danny Elfman and has studied his masterclass. And he's this very bright 22-year-old, you know, brilliant cellist with these long blue dreads. And he's like very like just super amazing. So he's also in the inclusive crew and the creature club of the FUNKYiPUPPETS. So there's, you know, Quincy is in a wheelchair. We have Erica Starkey, who was a gunshot victim. She was shot a stray bullet in her head. There was Juniper, which is Robbie K from 20, I think they're called One Tribe Collective, 26 Black artists who actually were up for a Grammy nomination for the in the family genre, which is so important, which I wish they got a bigger spotlight on that. I wish it was like main stage family, you know, look at all these people, you know. Yeah. And so she's Juniper, she's fighting multiple sclerosis. And there's, you know, just the creature crew. So for me, Clubhouse and the FUNKYiPUPPETS brought me to a space of like, with COVID and being online and learning about people and community, I would have never met this group of amazing people doing amazing things, you know, with, you know, diversity, equity, and inclusion at the helm. Like, see the people that are in the circle here, they're here, you know. And so to me, the humanity in that, I want to always have everything to do with the FUNKYiPUPPETS. And for 1 year, IPC was singing songs into an audio cassette into his phone and sending me them saying, build this one. This one's called, you know, Get That Funk Unstuck, you know. So there's like 20 plus tracks. He's got Charles Tsai out of Jersey working on them as well. There's a podcast going. There's a movie in the works, but most importantly, Asia, is that the puppets need to be made. So there's fundraising going on to make the puppets. We need to make the puppets, and they found a puppet maker, an amazing woman. And so it's just about like, if I had that money, I'd be funding the project, you know. Because I don't see another project that has the scope of Matsu, making art together, supporting unity, you know, which IPC, you should come and check out FUNKYiPUPPETS. We're always looking for new FUNKYiPUPPETS. We have people like Mark Lee, who's from LinkedIn, who has this show of like 3 or 4 shows every week. And we do a show called The Wind Down Show, where we, you know, he tells children's stories. The FUNKYiPUPPETS might show up, I'm going to sing some kids songs, and it's that kind of thing. And there's just so many amazing people in the troupe. Cheryl Bunteri, who plays Lemonade. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, that's really, really cool. I like how you bring people together, you know, from different walks of life, and y'all make beautiful like works of art together, like music. And that's really, really cool. And I love the hat, because I definitely want to get into the hat. Like, who did the artwork for the hat?
That's IPC. It's called an inker painter cap. So this is a gift that he sent me, and he can make one for you. But all these are characters. Let me see what I have here real quick. Let me see what I have. So he's an author. Eyes on the Surprise. You know, that's one of the characters that I play. It's Surprise, SIR, and this is Don't Get Mad at the Monster. You know,
wow.
and it explains why. He says, as Shagin sets forth on his adventure to meet fantastical creatures, he encounters a funky monster. And so, you know, he's just wildly talented, and
that's really cool.
So much. I mean, look at this. It's going to be a movie. It's going to be an animation. It should be, you know, it should be on Broadway. The songs we have, Asia, we have so many amazing songs. You want to hear the theme song?
Sure.
Now, you know who Mungo Jerry is?
I do not. No.
I'm pretty sure his name's Mungo Jerry. So when IPC and I met, we did that first song together for the Dirk Simon, you know, sync opportunity with Jason Rothberg. And then he said, hey, the Funky Eye Puppet song, like our first meeting online was like live and video, and he busted out the puppets. And we were like, he was talking to me like with the puppets, you know, like not like it was a face-to-face for a second, and then he busted out the puppets and we went into kind of play. But a few days after that, he said, hey, work this one up. I want the Funky Eye Puppets to have this theme song. Here are the lyrics. And it's Mungo Jerry's like, in the summertime, da 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 da. You know, so it's we're the Funky Eye Puppets, we continue to play. We get that funk on start every day. Inspire all creatures to be funky free by rocking to this incredible melody. It's a funkified way to be on a planet spinning into infinity. Can always come home to the outpost station, where the doors are open and our imagination to see beyond the troubles of this day, to feel inspired to continue the play. Oh, 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 because we wanted it that way. Come on, Asia, ready? Yeah, a funky eye puppet, continue to play. We get the funk on stop every day. Inspire all creatures to be funky free, yeah, yeah. By rocking to this incredible melody. Now, I wish the Funky Eye Puppets were here right now.
Oh, wow.
We need the Funky Eye Puppets here because they changed everything for me. They really did, you know? We were just talking with your dad at the beginning of this, you know, he said, well, to be able to be ready for the camera, ready to sing, ready to like, so many people like opened the door on Clubhouse, and like Consuelo Benson from the Field of Dreams. I don't know if you've been in her room. She and IPC do a room, and it's just talking about your dreams. What are your dreams? Which ones happened for you? Which ones didn't? What do you feel might have been a failure? Something that you could have done differently? And I've always been given the mic on Clubhouse, you know, so kind of like it gave me the wings. And then I don't know if you've heard, Asia, about a platform called Connect.Club, but it's like Zoom meets Clubhouse, where you can go live on camera. So I've got a lot of projects going on. Most recently, I stepped away from Clubhouse and Connect.Club. I was thinking I'm going to take 2 months off, but there's no way I could take 2 months off. I took a week. And, you know, then I came back because there's a show called NFT Superstars on Saturdays in the Coin Republic room. There was this big exhibition nomination that happened with the Coin Republic and Metaverse Generation, in which we did a 54-hour live Clubhouse event. I don't know if you saw us up there. But the whole point of it was that people come in and nominate themselves for the best NFT in the 10 categories that were there, you know, and a lot of people were like, well, I don't want to nominate myself. I want to nominate, you know, nominate someone else then. Don't nominate yourself. But there were people who, you know, it's interesting. I never won an accolade. And I did this time. You know, I don't consider that I'm the best NFT musician. I honestly don't, because I know people like Joe Nix out of the UK. We've written 19 songs. We met on that platform for that show, and you have to meet Joe. Amazing artist, just amazing, brilliant, who writes his own smart contracts on Manifold XYZ, and his brand is Hardistry, Hardistry.xyz, and just like can write a song in the moment. And together we've done 19. So
wow.
When you're in Hardistry, he named me Bee-Fly. Each person, each musician in Hardistry gets like an animal name or insect name that's part of like this, you know, crew. So yeah, all these interesting, you know, there's so many things.
Wow. Wow, that's really, really, really cool. Now I want to get into the Arc Nova Rhythm Collective. So what is that organization? What does it entail?
So the Arc Nova Rhythm Collective started with my dear friend who actually passed away last year. Yeah, Big Man, we called him. So Big Man's like a brother to me now. He's like an angel to me. But I met Big Man in LA. His name's Christopher Cronin. And in LA, we met at a place called the Incubator, which was this 5,000 square foot space in the Santa Fe Art Colony in downtown LA. And, you know, Big Man's was an editor, and also a musician, amazing musician, and did very well in Chicago with a bunch of groups back in the day. And so a few years ago, maybe like 4 years ago, he's like, I want to start this, like, we're going to STEM share. You can't ever be in the house at the same time. You have a family, you're a mom. I'm downtown. You know, I moved back to Chicago in 2007, the end of 2007, 2008. And I met my husband in Los Angeles, and then we came here and got married. And so Chris had moved back shortly thereafter as well. And what happened? He said, you know, Roger Ebner, from the saxophonist from a band called Pigface, which is Martin Atkins, this punk crazy conglomerate of like, there could be 50 musicians up on stage jamming, like that kind of thing, like a P-Funk thing, but like in a different genre. Yeah. And I met Chris. One day Chris was like, let's start Arc Nova Rhythm Collective. Roger thought of the name ARC, A-R-C, which is a strong name. And Arc Nova Rhythm Collective is a Romanian. There's a Romanian tie there. And Vessy, what do you think about being one of the founders with us? Me, you, and Roger. And I'll make that. We're going to create a new genre. It's going to be called Soul Flow. And it's going to be, you know, these beautiful undulating beds of instrumentals where you'll sing over them, my ideas or your own, and we'll invite other people into the circle. We'll share our stems, and we'll put out music. And so that's what we did. And there's about 50 tracks that, and he was always so, he was very pushy. Okay, you know, we got to get this done now. You got to, you know, I think he knew he wasn't going to be around. He always, you know, I think he knew it was going to, you know, there was like a small window, and he was really pushing for that to happen. So he died quite unexpectedly though, last year. I think it was in August or September. Yeah. That was hard to lose him, because he was like a brother to me, and he was always very, you know, like, you're a mom, you're amazing, keep going for the music. He championed me, you know, he's like, just keep going. Like, you know, don't ever put it down. Let's do this. Let's get this. You know, he introduced me to Jerry Bryant from JBTV, which was this amazing studio in Chicago where they have like tons of footage of like the biggest bands from the 90s. They had interviews, they would play live in their studio session. And Jerry was fighting cancer about 2 years ago, and Chris was like, he'd be like, write a song for Jerry. You know, he'd be like, write a song for Piper Dellums, you know, whose father was Ron Dellums, who, you know, helped end apartheid. And Piper is an amazing artist and filmmaker out of Los Angeles, and a very empowering woman. And I wrote a song called She Rose, because Chris was like, for half an hour on the phone one day, like, you got to write Piper a song. Do you know who Piper Dellums is? Like, he was that guy. He was like the inspiring artist at the helm, who could get me to do that, because I love him and I respect that he knows what he's talking about. And he introduced me to so many amazing minds and people. And he helped craft me ultimately. Sorry Nova Rhythm Collective, we've got songs like, you know, Oceans, Heal and Hear Me. There's these beautiful songs, you know, and we were just all working very humbly in our little studios in our basements. You know, I can't really say it enough that we have the tools, and when you have the tools, it doesn't matter if they're like you have the tools like to record and to you know share, stem share, you know, email them. Lander, LANDR will master your track. You pay $15 a month, you can master them. Some people in the business say, well, don't use Lander because it's not a real mastering. It's good enough to release music for someone who wants to get it out, right?
Right.
Yeah, so Chris really did empower me to, like, you're an indie artist, you can put music out, you don't need to wait for anybody, and you can make this happen. And with regards to the demo deal that I mentioned earlier with you know, Virgin Records, as soon as I got that demo deal and turned in those 5 songs to Tony Berg, you know, he's like, keep going, I want more. But they closed their doors. They like became artist direct. Virgin closed, which is very interesting. And I met Tony through Chris Penn, who was a friend of mine who also passed away, Sean Penn's brother. And that story is really sweet. He was an amazing singer. He loved the blues. He loved Chicago. And I met him one day at the cigar shop in Santa Monica, right off the boardwalk, off the Santa Monica Promenade rather. And he was just sitting there, you know, in this like leather seat, like posh cigar shop. I'm like pushing my like dolly with my like crate speaker and my guitar. And I look at him, he's like, oh, you play music? You know, yeah. And I was like, who is this guy? Looks really familiar. You know, he was an actor, Reservoir Dogs and many other movies. But I think mostly he was a singer. I really wish he could have put that record out, you know. People are making NFTs these days. I feel like there's such a empowering cause for the family tree, for any record up on the blockchain, a series of numbers. So an NFT is a non-fungible token, you know, and people are confused by that. But I've been educated by various people saying, hey, well, an NFT is only one of one. It's a non-fungible one of one. So technically NFTs, as people are doing on OpenSea, they make like many copies of them. So those are editions of them, of the one. But that's okay. Make copies, give them away, you know, sell them if you want. I mean, I know you probably have some questions for me on that. So I could keep going, Asia. I always have to apologize. I talk too much.
It's all good. Now I want to get into the Women's Made Gallery in Chicago, which you're a member of.
Women Made.
Yeah, Women Made Gallery. So I want to get into and ask, like, how important is it to include female and feminine voices in the local art community?
It's the number one thing that everybody needs to be doing to empower. And in the space, so Woman Made is now 30 years in the making, 31 years. And they were in 4 different spaces. So when my mom was in her 40s, she had 5 children. She went back to school, and she, you know, she took her classes and with honors, and she started. She had the idea off of a woman name, being inspired by a woman. Let me think now of the name. This amazing artist, Mary Ellen Courteau, this feminist, strong, liberated, powerful female artist in Chicago. And my mother and Kelly Henson co-founded the pop-up gallery. It was just supposed to be a senior thesis. All right, 1 month, women's art. There's only 5% on the walls. It's 1992. We want, that's a horrendous number. We want the market share, right, of the art world. Let's get it, right, 1992. And so after 1 month, it was Sister Serpent who showed there, and they're a very edgy, like there was some art there that people were like giving Women Made death threats because there was some art that was offensive to men. Like, how could you like show this kind of art? And it was just a call to action for how women have been treated globally, you know. And there was a work of art in there, a Mother Mary, that had plastered all on it, and that's in their permanent collection. All the deaths of all these women where the men got away, you know, like that's powerful. Like for me at 16, to be playing with my sister and Just Blame Me at my mom's like pop-up gallery, you know, to open the show and to have all these like strong women around who aren't going to take it anymore and who want to uplift and bring people up and talk about domestic violence and talk about what's happening and talk about how it's changing because we're going to make it change, not that it needs to change. Like, this is happening, it's changing, we're going to change it, we're changing it. And so when they were going to close their doors, the women were like, Beata, absolutely not. You can't close that. Like, you just started something. That was like 31 years ago, you know? And so she started her little bagel business in the morning. She'd go to like get fresh bagels because it was right by the train station, the Rockwell train station. They painted a beautiful mural right on the brick wall there. And she would give bagels, sell bagels in the morning to the people who were commuting, and they got to see some amazing art by women. And so for me, you know, she's actually being honored with a Lifetime Achievement Award by the Women Caucus of the Arts out of Washington. She's very humble, very much an amazing artist, but very much to herself. She doesn't like to be like on the stage talking about, like, she wants to like bring funding to people. She wants to like, you know, she wants to, Women Made has shown over 9,000 women's works. That's a lot, you know. They have the International Open every year. It's called, the website that you could go to or that your guests could go to is womanmade.org, and can learn more about the beautiful, diverse group of people, women that are leading the cause there now. My mother stepped down a couple years ago, and they're in Pilsen in the Lagunas Art Center, which is this beautiful, like 3 or 4 story art loft space. Yeah. So it's so important because when you have an entity as a woman-owned business in any faction, in any neighborhood, the girls are going to come there. The boys are going to come there. I mean, what's going on here? Let's talk about it. You know, let's talk about her mark. Her mark was a calendar that Women Made Gallery did, you know, for a yearly calendar where there was also like the beautiful arts of the women in there, but they have a beautiful online presence. Are you a visual artist, Asia?
Yes.
Okay. You got to go to womanmade.org. You gotta become a member. It's very affordable. I think it's 25 or 30 for the whole year. And you get to know about all the shows, everything coming up. They're a non-for-profit.
All right, cool. That's really cool. So I got familiar with you in NFTs tips. So I wanted to ask, like, what attracted you to that club, and tell us about the friendships and camaraderies that were created.
So NFT tips, just every time I go in there, Asia, it's just, I'm blown away by what people are sharing. You know, I have to think now, my first time in there, I was first told about NFT tips by a man named Patrick, who I work with musically on some projects. And in Clubhouse, he said, you know, NFT.tips is a good club to go to. So I think that's how I found it. I'm not sure that I jumped in right away though, but there is a woman who I work with, and we have a brand, an NFT project called Metaverse Junkies. And there's 7 women, and it's Brooke Ganster, Meta Ruth, Hiromi, Farah, and sorry, Shades of Bling, they call her too. I hope I'm saying all 7 of us. Hiromi, Farah, Brooke, Meta Ruth. Oh, and Sophia V. And sorry, there we go. That's it. That's 7. And so basically, NFT tips, they let you have the mic. If you have a question, they let you talk about like what you want to learn about NFTs. I met a lot of people there. I'm trying to think. That's a very big question, because I am always taking notes. When I hear of an artist, like I save the links, I share the links, I clip. So I've met countless people and have been promoting countless people through NFT tips. More so even for the NFT 99. BK has done NFT 99 1.0 and 2.0 with Metaverse Generation. And he's doing the Michelangelo now, which is 3.0. And it is 99 artists. And the whole point is to have people have 30 minutes to say, hey, I'm an NFT artist, or I'm a newbie, and this is what my vision is. This is what my project is. And I met amazing artists on that platform. So Brooke, I did meet I think through BK, and like artists like, you know, sustainable artists like Tegu Osternick, who builds coral reef replications that are like 15 tons at the bottom of the Jakarta, like in Jakarta at the bottom of the sea.
Right.
Like that nobody's going to see one day because it's overgrown, replicating coral. And those kind of artists, just Yasser, who does the Sufi, there's these Sufi artists, Jenny Bhatt out of Mumbai, Rati, sing, it's countless artists. I couldn't even tell you, Asia, I couldn't even tell you how many artists I've met through NFT tips, and, everybody that I know, and new people always coming. And Glassy is, Glassy's an amazing speaker, and he's very empowering. Oh, I'm remembering now. Okay, so one day I woke up really early, and it was really early, and I went on Clubhouse, and I was like, oh, NFT tips, and I started to listen in, and it was Squirty Mayo from Frogland.io was talking, and I was like, who is this guy? He sounds so educated and well versed, and knows so much information, and sounds so empowering. It's like Clubhouse is like school,
Right.
like. And I just was like right away, like started taking notes. It was like 5 a.m, Central Time here, something like that. I don't normally wake up that early. And I think the FOMO, they call it FOMO, like the excitement for just having the ability to like open up a digital wallet, connect it to a platform. For me, it's MetaMask, because was what I was told is the best one for OpenSea. The talk that your dad was in yesterday, where Sophia was speaking about Atomic Hub, I think it's called, and she said that that's the most sustainable one. I had to go back and ask BK, well, what about people are saying that this one's more sustainable. What's up with that? He's like, well, there's no PayPal. Nobody can buy anything with a debit card there. You have to you have to buy EOS, which is the blockchain. And so for user ease, OpenSea, just because was my experience. MetaMask, it was a little strange in the beginning, doing all that. What? Your digital wallet has to talk to this platform, so that you can sign a smart contract, and the blockchains that you can mint in, on OpenSea are Ethereum or Polygon. Now I learned about Polygon through BK, and Polygon is gas free initially, because you have to pay once somebody buys your work. So if you don't charge enough, you can't really make any money from your art, because the gas fees, depending on the day and the time, they're always changing. So if you know what I mean? So it's just constantly been an onboarding learning experience. Like you can't, if you like go at it, like I need to know everything at once so that you'll just like drive yourself mad, because there's steps, because it's a whole new way of thinking. And people like I have there's a label that wants to sign me called Strawberry Hills Records with Morris Mills, this amazing musician who's Sony Orchard wants to give Morris a label deal, and then I'll be getting a distribution deal. And he wants to know about, well, how do NFTs play into this? And I do too. I was like, well, I learned, don't give your NFT rights away in any agreement, any contract. There has to be a clause there. You don't own my NFT. That's my NFT. I get to do my NFTs, because that space is for the artist and for the indie artist, And to think actually about Clubhouse, Asia, you did ask me earlier, and I apologize that I didn't have this all in order here, I'm kind of been like jumping so much, but there was a Clubhouse talk that was my first that I had jumped into, and Naomi Campbell was on there with Easy 40, I think, and some big players, some big music people, and they were talking about and it was called the name of the United Artists. I think that's what it was called. And they were having a big conversation, and I was in the audience. There was like hundreds of people there. And Naomi Campbell, the supermodel, and she's a badass. And she was like saying, well, I don't even own my own image. I had to pay. I heard her story. I heard her speak. For years, I had to go and get permission for my image that someone else took to see if I could use it in my book. So that was like my first, like, that's not right. Like, you know, like it's her image, you know, some people weren't even around anymore. And so then she has to go and speak to the people who are taking care of their estate. And some images she couldn't even get, and it's her. And people profited majorly off of Naomi Campbell's image, the fashion industry. But in the end, she got her images, right? She paid for them and she got them. And it was Naomi Campbell that said, you own your NFT in a contract, do not give that away. Like that is your, you know, so big up to Naomi Campbell, because it was her. See how long it took me to like get back to the beginning. So I'm so glad you're asking me, because it's important to see where the empowerment comes from and the education, and to give that, you know, shine that light on that platform and the people that were there.
Yeah, that's a really, really cool story. Now, in terms of being in the group, like how has that affected your personal growth? Just being an NFT as tips alone.
I mean, I've spent, you know, I took a week off recently, and Brooke was like, that was like 50 hours you weren't here during the week. I didn't even realize how much time I'm spending online learning and also educating, you know, the little bit that I know. I don't consider myself, you know, BK says, I want you to be a coach. Like that's kind of his he sees me as a coach. And so I think that I wouldn't be who I am. I would not have, if Mad Bop wouldn't have had their New Year's Eve event where, you know, I have to give a big up to Richard Selwyn, who I met in the Field of Dreams in Consuelo's room, because that man is a major connector, still sending me contacts, still, you know, I heard him speak and I was like, who is this? Who is this that knows these things, that's like inspiring me, you know? So what I do is I just reach out on LinkedIn. They go, you know, I find them and I say, thank you. It's great to learn of you. And then a discourse begins, or not. It depends on who you know, there's plenty of people after I took that sync class, you know, I reached out to a ton of people that didn't respond, you know, back, but some did, you know. I think everybody in this space, Asia, is trying to now figure out how are we going to make a living doing what we used to do in a new space here. So I feel like the ad world, like I sometimes think I want to start an NFT ad agency, you know, like I already want to have all of that ready for all these companies that I think that I might want to write for. I want to already have them like ready. You want to buy it? This little clip, 30 seconds, you know, like, you know, whichever, Del Monte, you know, companies that are doing good with their profits. I have to find out and become more onboarded and educated on that, you know.
Yeah, I want to get into like your NFT project. So tell us about your NFT collections and projects that you're working on.
So I have a very eclectic, strange, basically based on just how strange the road has been of NFT projects. The one I mentioned, the Shiro song that Chris asked me to write. I for the NFT 2.0, the NFT 99, which happened a few months ago, you know, that was my project that I shared about. Or was it for the NFT Superstars? See, things are kind of blending because every few months there's another 48-hour like you know, exhibition event, and that really changed me. I really, BK Han, you know, putting on these events where like the hosts are all of us. We take an hour, 2 hours. If people don't show up, new people are in the house, we bring them up, we keep it going. Like this is a show. I got my records. I'm going to put a record on. If there's a moment of silence, I'm going to sing a song. Let's talk about your art, you know, who's here, like bringing people up from the skybox. We call it the skybox in Clubhouse because they're down there. Like just click the thing, raise your hand, come up here, let's talk, you know. It's a very empowering space. So the NFT project that I recently did was called, I believe it's called For Your Love, and it's on OpenSea, and it has a work of art from my mother. And the painting is of the goddess because she, you know, always paints the goddess, and also created them with Fimo clay and woman made and sold them, like, and people bought them, hundreds and hundreds of them, probably thousands she made. And so that one is my mom's art. And I asked her, can I, you know, I made like, I think 1,000 copies of it. And I put in the description, any money that I make from these, I'm going to give, you know, 25% to Woman Made. I'm going to give, and the rest, you know, split with my mom. I asked her what she wanted to do. And So NFTs are really new to the older generation. And I just think it's really cool. She was like, yeah, you know, use my art, go ahead. But I want to hook her up now with like, I want to like NFT all her work, you know, because she's a very, she has her website on Wix and stuff, but I think the NFT space needs to know my mom. So that's why I was excited about that one. The Shiro's song to her goddess is that NFT. And I will send you actually a handful so that you can give them to people in connection with your show, anybody that you'd like to empower in the space, to like encourage them to open up a digital wallet, which is the wonderful thing about Polygon on open space, because you can mint for free as many copies as your computer can make. It doesn't take long. They're just making numbers, right? Each NFT has so you have one NFT, the main one, and then you have additions of it. So let's say I have 2,000 of one. I can transfer them. I don't have to sell them. I can just give them away. And that's the empowerment factor there, because it's promotion. You find out who your team is by being in the Clubhouse space, being on Connect.Club, being online. And then you create your NFTs and then on Polygon, and then you give them to people that you love and care about in the community. That's your team that's building, and they can give them away. Or maybe if you become well known and they become worth something that somebody wants to pay for, then it's like you're uplifting the whole community with that mindset. You asked me the latest project I did do. There's this app called Make It, MAYKIT. And I learned about it through Meta Ruth and King Leo on Connect.Club. And Happy brought me to Connect.Club. Happy actually played Spectrum Fulbright in the FUNKYiPUPPETS. It's like the FUNKYiPUPPETS, like, you know, birthed so much. And Make It is this app. Have you heard of it, Asia? Make It, it's MAYK.io. It's basically beat stars, as they advertise them. Amazing beats, amazing melodies within the beats. You can just download the app on your phone and record a vocal over any of the beats. And sometimes they give you prompts and say, hey, can you write a song to uplift someone? Can you do this? So I've got about 60 drops there. And you get gems you get gems, they call them, for listening to other people's music, for commenting on it, for sharing your music, for recording on their app. And once you get 15,000 gems, which is a lot because it costs 1,000 to promote your ideas. But I think they're trying to encourage a community of people who are really doing the art, empowering each other, sharing, and make a lot and keep going. And the more you make, we're going to get to the heart of the matter. It's going to be the best art, you know, the art with the purpose, with the true utility. And when we talk about utility, you know, in the NFT world, that has a few ways that it's been presented to me. I've learned that a utility is what the user gets out of purchasing your NFT. But also for me, true utility is what is the NFT's true purpose? So for like Counting Coral is this amazing NFT project they're moving their sculptures to Fiji as we speak. And it's very much congruent with Tegu Osternik, the coral reef artist, because they're giving, I think Jolian, who I met on NFT Tips, who's this amazing individual out of Los Angeles, you know, he said they'll write 400 emails per week and maybe they'll get one response for somebody who wants to donate money to save the oceans, you know, with only 0.1% of all non-for-profit agencies, like they only get 0.1% of donations. And so the coral reef issue is a real issue. So it's projects like that, philanthropic NFTs, that get me going the most, because I think that we need to save our earth. We really do. I know there's that discussion. No, it's not true. The earth's fine. She'll be fine. We might not be around a long time, but she's going to be okay. You know, there's that, like, and I get that. But like Alan Teitel, 2-time Emmy Award winning Alan Teitel, has the fractal hearts that he had his gallery opening on Connect.Club. And I met Alan in Connect.Club, and Alan, did these fractal hearts for the Ukraine effort. You know, he wants to donate 75% of proceeds to help the Ukraine effort, to help St. Jude's, specifically St. Jude Children's Hospital, with the Ukraine effort. to bring the sick kids out of the Ukraine. And, you know, that project, he right now has a clothing line that he just also dropped, because people, not everybody, most people aren't ready to buy an NFT, you know, let alone trust that the money that's going to come from it is going to go to where it says it's going to go, because so much in this world, you know, Asia, that doesn't happen with these places that say that they're doing good for someone, and if or they're doing good for a community. But Alan aims to change that and just say, I'm going to put my money, I'm going to put my art where my mouth is. I'm going to give 75%. I'm going to raise $1 million. So Alan Titel, I strongly encourage you to check out his work as well, and I can send some links. So the true utility. So the reason I brought up Make It, and please interrupt me but I really had a point. So I was on Facebook the other day because, you know, this past week I haven't been on Clubhouse. I haven't been on Connect.Club except just a couple times because I was asked to come and sing and to support. And the Metaverse Junkies have their show every Saturday. I couldn't let the girls down, and we got, you know, we have to interview you, actually, you and your dad. So it would be really cool to interview you, you know. And I went on Facebook, and I saw, 2 years ago, I posted something, a petition for a woman named Adelina Sao. This domestic worker, migrant from Malaysia, who became a housekeeper in Indonesia, and who was badly beaten and malnutrition and found in front of the estate of the house that she was a housekeeper, like almost dead. And then she had organ failure 2 days later, and she died. And there was a petition I signed, and there was an uproar, outrage of what happened to this 21-year-old girl, young woman. And, you know, I looked at the petition. I saw the last time somebody signed it was like 2 years ago. You know, I saw it didn't reach the 35,000 mark. I'm like, I have my laptop. I'm still promoting NFTs, mind you. You know, I'm still like, you know, doing on Twitter and LinkedIn, and I'm still promoting. And I'm like, I need to write a song for her. I need to go on Make It right now. I need to make that song. I need to say her name. So I looked up some articles from, you know, and found out more about the story. And as I was on the Make It app, I found my beat. I liked it. It was the first one that came up, you know, for what I could choose. And very, very easy to use the app. And I start singing, Adelina Sao, say her name. Adelina Sao, say her name. Something beautiful, you know, to like, and then I read from the article, the Indonesian government, and I start to kind of just pick and choose little bits from the article. So it's a political song. It's a song of remembrance, and it's an empowering song because, you know, she's not the only one, and her family's still suffering from the great injustice that nobody has paid for that crime. And how effed is that, excuse me, how, you know, but when you ask Asia how important women's galleries and, you know, the art that women make is, in Women Make Galleries, where I learned art for art's sake is not the art that the women want to do. The art for art's sake, it's like there's a purpose behind it. It has such a huge purpose. It's to change. It's beyond breaking. The ceiling's already broken. It's not that. All the shards are swept away. Our feet aren't bloody on them, right? We have a clean floor here. We can change with the discourse of how we speak about, you know, why in the U.S. Constitution aren't women mentioned? Why isn't the Equal Rights Amendment? Why isn't that, like, you know, the Violence Against Women Act? I believe that was put into place, and that was hugely fought for. But women are not mentioned in the U.S. Constitution. So there needs to be an amendment made. So I want to make NFTs like that, you know, for Adelina Sao. And so I went into Facebook and looked, you know, on the petition. I gave $40. You know, if anyone's thinking out there, how can I help? You know, you give some money so that they can see those 2,700 impressions, because it costs money to advertise, you know. So having that kind of NFT advertising agency for all the names that nobody or they don't know about it, right? They don't know about Say Her Name or Black Lives Matter or any of the you know, some people are so like, they really are like la-di-da, happy here, nothing's going wrong, and we want to kind of break them, break open the bubble. Like, hold on a minute, like you can help. You can help, and this really happened. So that's why I do my art, because in the end, and it's humbling because I could find myself saying, why aren't I, I've only sold a handful of NFTs, where, to me, it's not even about selling them anymore. It's about making them. I want to make them. I want them to be important. I want them to inspire a generation to make them, to put our family trees on them, to say, this was my mom. This was, somebody like Jasper Stone is a producer I work with. I work with a lot of different producers, and he's out of Chicago, where I live. And he did this beautiful video of his family tree. And there are slave owners in that, slaves in his bloodline. And he has pictures of them free, of his ancestors. And he has their names there. He's made this little like beautiful video, like, this is who they are. This is where I came from. And I was like, you got to mint that. Can we mint that? He's like, what's NFTs? I don't, so that divide there, I want to help be like the bridge. Like, I can help you mint. I can help you learn how to do it. There isn't a charge. There are a lot of people charging for it because it is valuable information. But if people just find their communities and they can build and learn about it, they don't have to pay anybody. It's about not having that happen. Actually, that's the whole point of it, that you can mint on OpenSea with Polygon, and you can make a ton of copies and you can give them away to people so they can learn how to do it. And then they have your NFT, they have your family tree, they have your story. That's what it is to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really, really cool. Now, what are some creative things you've seen in terms of like when people create like NFTs? Like, what are some like creative things that you've seen or you've done yourself?
So, let me think on that. So Tegu, the right now, the Legends of the DAO. So the other day when I did the Adelina Sao song, the other day I was like thinking of Honeybee from Honeybee Radio on Twitter, who's somebody that I recently met, who was talking about the market share, who was talking about like women in the US Constitution. I was like, thank God, like, she said that, because of course, why did I forget? We get like lost in our like lives and our art, but really the most important thing is remember that and talk about it. And I was thinking on OpenSea, when you create a collection, you name it. Now OpenSea is like the YouTube. It's like YouTube. If you think about when YouTube started, that's what OpenSea is. There's a ton of other platforms, but OpenSea is like YouTube. And for me, I feel like it's going to be a place where you're going to see who work together, because they're going to have each other's NFTs. You're going to see, it's this roadmap kind of what happened in the beginning of this space. So in saying that, I want to share that I was like, market share, say her name. I go, are these collections that exist on OpenSea? Mm. I started to look up like Happy Birthing Day, which is an idea I had when I became a mom. Like, there needs to be like cards for moms. Happy Birthing Day. This is your birthing day card, And I was like, right. I looked up Birthing Day and I could find it on there. So I named a collection that. And so nobody else can use that, because I thought of it, and it doesn't cost anything to name your collection, right. So I found Market Share, a collection. Like, that's a huge umbrella. What is, and that represents something. It's strong. It's OpenSea.io/market share. So creatively for myself, it was the first thing I thought of, because create your collections before you make your NFTs for them, like titles, right. Because this is the beginning of it, and you'll have the beginning. You'll own that. It's in your name. So I called up my friend Coffee D'Ambrosi, who's this amazing artist and speaker, very empowered woman, that I met with Ms. Queen Earth on the Tezos. They have a Tezos room. I said to Coffee, like, go secure, say her name. Because as I was thinking I was going to secure it, I was like, let me call Coffee. Like, Coffee, do it. Coffee, say her name. I want her to do that, And I put her name is, because I did it for Adelina. So that's one of the creative kind of things I could offer that people could do, even though I know that wasn't exactly the question. People are creating like clothing lines, like Alan, to, they're creating these clothing lines. People buy the clothing, and then that's a good way to kind of then want to end up buying the NFT to support St. Jude. So you start with the clothing line. That's very creative. I did a show with Kevin down here in our studio. It's a 20-minute show for the Mad Bop event for New Year's. And that was highly stressful because, you know, you're thinking you're gonna mint this. Minting means create it on the blockchain. And then people are gonna be able to see it. It needs to be really good. Do we have good lighting? Does it look good in here? You know, so 20 minutes of visual, video, music, you know, that's also another creative thing that people can do. Let me think now more about philanthropic. You know, people are giving, I mean, they're giving like access for a lifetime to, that's the utility too, or it could be called the unlockable. Once the person buys the NFT, you can choose an unlockable, which could be like a link to your Google Drive where they receive like your poetry, like when you were 10. You know, you could really do whatever you want. You could give whatever you want to the person who buys your NFT. I'm trying to think more on the creative. I'm just, Tegu takes the cake, you know. BK's creating his 99 legends right now for the NFTs, which has, you know, Mao on there. It has like John F. Kennedy. It has all these legends, right? And then people are like, well, how could you use their image? You know, how do you have access? And there's people painting their images on the street, you know, but he wants to put 99 of them together, which is very creative to put, you know, 99 together on one blockchain as an NFT project, or as a collection rather, because so there's another project called Women of Steel, and Women of Steel is co-founded by Saher, and they aim to give 10% back to women just to be able to create the art. It's hard to fathom that some people, women, do not have even they don't have the space, they don't have the tools, and they can't even make it. So they want to give money so that these women in these artful communities, they can make it, so they can become empowered. So that's a huge utility. Women of Steel, they asked me to be the spokesperson for their brand, and they've got 8,888 generative, like they're these women, they're all these different women, and they're all like, you just think 8,888, like, you know, and to sell all of those would be huge for them, you know, a $1 million deal, $1.5 million, right? Or more depending. But they also have then the pre-sale. So they do the pre-sale, you end up on the they call it on the white list. They call it the white list as the pre-sale, where you are, if you're at the beginning of the project, you're going to be there when they do the minting. So another thing that they're doing is that I've seen that people are doing like, they don't, I still have to learn about this, but they mint it. The person who wants to buy the NFT ends up paying the minting cost. So it doesn't even become minted until the person pays it. I still have so much to learn. That's a very good question you asked, and it makes me want to, like, you know, become more educated on that too.
Now, in terms of Web3, I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about Web3. So what is some piece of advice for independent artists if they want to get involved in the realm of Web3?
So they're Web3, some say we're not there yet because it's, you know, we're like at 2.5, which I'm not quite sure I even understand. You know, the Metaverse Junkies call us Web3, like we're Web3, but Web3, if I have a diagram, actually on LinkedIn, I want to tell you about this blockchain group. I'll actually back channel you that when we get off the call. Let me think about Web3. Yeah, it's a strange thing. Web2 is, you know, the internet, you know, Facebook, you know, Web3 is kind of like, Web 2.5, I would say, is like Connect.Club, like video, audio. You can move around in the app, like in Connect.Club. You just tap any space on your phone and you end up there. There's like a scene there. There's couches. They could make it look like an ocean. They could make it look like an airfield. They could make it look like the sky. They have like these like backdrops, like a visual, you know, an aesthetic. So yeah, Web3 I feel is like the full on virtual, like with the headgear on, with the Oculus, and like everything's Web3. So I don't know about that. I haven't had an Oculus on my head. Have you?
Oh no, I haven't.
And I don't know if I want one. I don't think I've even said that to anybody. Like, I don't know if I want one. I heard some scary things also on NFT tips about like, you know, I don't want to talk on anything that like, you know, people sometimes say things that are super scary and I don't want to call it fear mongering. No, let's call it fear mongering. You know, it could be education and also fear mongering where you fear society or a people into like submission, you know,
Right.
or not to go there. And at the same time, they say, well, that's where we're going. So you might as well like just jump on the technology train. Like that's where it's headed. So the IRL in real life is also very important to me. And I've had a hard time. So Web 3.0 could be, in my mind, if I'm going to think about it philosophically and poetically, it could be just like the pulling of you more and more into the metaverse where you're living more than in the real, right? There's a book that BK mentioned yesterday. It's called Snow Crash. I believe it was written in 1992. And the gentleman that wrote it basically coined the name Metaverse. And he says that's a book that everybody should read. I don't know if you've heard of it. I haven't read it yet. You know, crypto verbiage. There are books out there about like all the different. So on OpenSea, you need to be able to compress because you can't upload anything above 100 megabytes. So there's a really great there's a really great open source website called Handbrake. Handbrake.io, I think is what it is. BRAKE. And Glassy is the one that told me about that because I had this burning question. So if we don't write down our questions, we have so many, right? It's like once we get into these spaces where somebody will be able to help us, we need to like, wait, I got this question.
Right.
And so I finally remembered to ask it because that's a big thing, compression. Like if you're going to do video, you need to be able to compress it to 100 megabytes or less. There's other platforms where it doesn't even matter that it's not, you know, that it's a bigger file because they do it a different way. But yeah, OpenSea is my favorite still. They do a 2.5% service charge. And yeah, I like OpenSea because it's easy to use. It's easy to use.
All right, really, really cool. Now, within the metaverse, what's your take of the metaverse and what are some possibilities that you foresee in terms of the metaverse and especially within like NFTs and Web3?
Well, I see that, you know, the way things are changing so rapidly. Some people are afraid like about like the US dollar or currency, right? That like it's going to move to like cryptocurrency or that there's going to be these decentralized autonomous organizations, DAOs. You know, I think my answer on that, I don't know if I could even, I think the metaverse is going to change everything. I think we're in the metaverse. I think that in the womb, we were in the metaverse. We don't, you know, it's like really you know, it's just kind of understanding like you have the power in your hand to define the kind of life that you want to have. And you can use the tools of the age to manifest it. Now, we could get lost in the metaverse, online VR, you know, we could get lost in the fears there about, you know, AI and the things that we hear and all that jazz. But I think organically, we need to like remain with our feet on the earth, take your socks off, take your shoes off, go stand like literally in the backyard or on some grass and, you know, connect to what we are. So we're like one living being on earth. That's what we are. We're all like with all these moving parts. I actually wrote something for the NFT Superstar awards that were 2 weeks ago because they asked if the people, you know, who were nominees or who were winners would write something kind of just what they thought about it. And once I started writing just about what the space has done for me, I couldn't stop. You know, it was like, it's like once you start creating art with your message of empowerment, empowering yourself, it takes on a life of its own. And the communities that you build and where you go, you could get caught up in all sorts of drama. You could get caught up in all sorts of like, no, this is the right way, or AI is going to be this, or you know, whatever judgments that anybody is trying to sell you, depending on how rooted you are into what's really most important, which is family and global family and global uprising and uplifting, you know, like that's the value. The value in NFTs and the metaverse is that we can uplift each other, and we have a way to do it. And we don't have to spill blood on land and make sanctions and say, hey, you know, I want this. This is my land. I think that has to end. I think the metaverse offers a solution of peace, a place to do business, where if they're not going to do business in the metaverse, then maybe no one's going to do business with them, because they've created another structure, a place to do business where they own the land. Now it's expensive to own land in the metaverse, right? It's like $1 million for a metaverse, or 7,000 for a plot, but once you get with a community that has that mind frame that they want to uplift and they want to help, they want clean water, like Elvis or Ejabi from the Octopus Lounge. He's doing the clean water initiative, the global clean water initiative. There's a man named Elder in the Tsuela Mountains in South Africa who I met. Actually, I didn't mention this before, huge inspiration. There hasn't been water in that village for 16 years. And Elder talked about the girls having to go spend all day to get water when they ought to be, you know, doing what they want to do, learning, you know, learning how to code, learning what's going on, not being left behind because of unclean water or no water. And all it takes is some boreholes to be drilled into the mountains. So all it takes is people who care that everybody's got clean water, access to it. Everybody's got education, access to it. Everybody's got healthcare, access to it. You know, my friend Kathy started an organization. She's a missionary called Music for the World. I recently on OpenSea started a collection for her because I want to make NFTs for what she's done and what she's doing. We were sponsoring a young girl in a village in Kenya for a while, or not in Kenya, in Ghana. And she builds wells in places where there aren't any. She has that track record. She's already done it. She's a missionary. She's here for the people to help, right? I think that NFTs could save the world. I know that sounds like utopian and silly, probably to a lot of people, but not to me, because you can do business in the metaverse and there doesn't have to be war.
Right.
You have businesses that you have corporations that say, I don't want blood on my hands. I don't want this held over my head that if I don't do this, something's going to happen to someone I love, because there's some, who knows what nefarious stuff. You know, you see Hollywood in the movies. I mean, it could just all be a bunch of bull. I don't really know. I just know that the metaverse offers us a solution where we can work with people we want to work with, get done what we need to get done, and say, this is how we're going to do it. This is the new paradigm. We're going to do it this way. We're going to save the planet. Elon Musk spoke the other day. He had an AMA, an Ask Me Anything session on YouTube that I caught a good portion of. And there was a woman, the journalist there, I don't remember her name, but she was asking him, so what do you think the United States has to do next? What does the US have to focus on? He said, you know, making roads, you know, the roads and highways. Otherwise, people aren't going to be able to go anywhere. Population. The population, and what are we at, 7.8, 7.9 billion? And if you think about the metaverse and how we can go everywhere we need to go, it could be a perfect replication of the earth and all the cities and villages and all the nature, a perfect replication. I'm going to do business here. What's going on here? Which are the companies that are so well connected globally right here that care about everybody? Let's talk about the Congo Basin. You know, where I learned last year during Biden had he had the like 4 days of the climate change convention, and there were amazing speakers. And you know, in the Congo Basin, I learned, hey, wait, that's more fruitful than the Brazilian rainforest. I didn't know that. And wait, they've got the smallest like carbon footprint, but they're taking the biggest blow because of the global consuming, you know, that we're doing, and the biggest corporations, how they're using you know, energy. and we're not changing quick enough. So look who's suffering. And then you think of the conflict that's in these places, and you think, you know, I have a friend who said, well, you don't know what, on NFT tips, you get to hear. So to answer your question, Asia, you get to hear from all over the world and
Right.
NFT tips. You get to hear what's going on, what people think, you know, because there's a stage for them to speak up. There's a stage for them. They're pulled up to like say, hey, this is what it is. And that courageous dialogue from the Funky Eye Puppets, I'm going to quote IPC time and time again, the courageous dialogue, you know, the broken bones of childhood, the realities that we don't know, the true education we're not getting unless we're having a seat at the table. So NFT tips, Clubhouse, Connect.Club, there's a seat at the table there for people. You know, there are rooms there that empower and uplift, where you'll hear things like I was just going to share about, you know, how difficult the government is in Africa. To hear that from a Black woman who grew up there, telling me, you know, telling the whole room, telling 85 people there, you don't really know what you're talking about, Vessy. You're talking about a utopian idea about how it could get better, but how are we going to get through to the governments that have like the clench and the loophole and the girls are subjugated?
Right.
How are we going to get there? And I always say, well, I'm going to get there with a song. I want to sing them a song. I want to break them open. I want the humanity to be remembered. If it's that far away, but then you think about, she was mentioning oppression, oppressed peoples. My father's from Bulgaria. We have the oppression of the Turks. It's in his blood. It's in my blood. There's that oppression that lives there.
Right.
You know? And so what to do with that? I'm also Swedish, French, Russian, and German, besides being 50% Bulgarian. Then there's that split with all of those. There's all that. So I think everybody needs to take a DNA test as soon as they can when they're little, as soon as their parents okay it, so they can see how much of everything we are. You know, look how much I'm part of you. Look how close we are. What are we fighting over? That's why the demise of the planet should be the very cause to do, you know, business only in the metaverse. We don't need war. I mean, I just read on NPR the other day about you know, they're saying, well, we don't have any proof about the rapes, about the systemic genocide that's going on there. You know, just horrible. Like you read these articles and it's infuriating. I'm just like, and then I'm thinking, well, they have two sides here. They're talking about how it's happening, and then they're talking about how maybe it's not happening. Right? Maybe because we don't have it, it's hard to like pin anybody down that they did anything because war is happening. You think about the girls there and the boys, whomever is, you know, from 14 up, they were saying, but I mean, just that needs to end. I mean, you know, so we talk about, I've got 3 boys. I've got 3 sons and 1 daughter. How do I teach them about what it is to be a man in the world? Or Sophia, how do I teach her what it means to be a woman in the world? I got to tell them the truth, right? I got to not break their hearts or their spirit with it. But how does that happen? We're all like cumbersome from those very things that we end up learning. And as the older I get, the more I learn, I'm like, you know, like it's like consuming. It's like the art has to have a purpose, has to have a true utility. The NFT has to mean something. It's going to help somebody. We got to want to help each other. So the NFT and the metaverse, they bring you humanity because you have the ability to empower and help each other. You have the ability to connect globally and to make change happen one person at a time, you know, and that's all we can do, you know, and these lives that a lot of us, you know, live for a good chunk, like imagining in the movies or Netflix or watching TV or stuck on the news. Like we need to get the heck out of our houses, off of our phones, and go be in nature. Go sit alone and just sit and listen to the birds are talking to us. You hear them? They're so healing, you know, like nature's like, wake up. Nature's like, you've been in the metaverse. Like it occurred to me yesterday, you know, the movie The Matrix. So I've thought about that movie a lot since I first saw it. And I thought, well, that can't be that we're like you know, people are like, well, we're in the matrix. It's true. It's happening right now. Like there's people that'll say that, you know, okay. No, no, I remember having my children. I remember being little. I remember being, you know, and then you think about, well, what about the future? Because I thought yesterday, well, what about the future? If we're in the metaverse, does that mean we're going to be, if like we want to remain alive and keep humanity, like, are we going to be, because that occurred to me yesterday, and I was like that's, but should I worry about that? You know, what it could be, what it might be, what movies say that it's going to be. We got to like be here right now, right here, and make love and not peace, you know, find a way to like hear the stories, learn from them, and just be in touch with your own humanity. If you believe in God, nature, whatever that is, just the love is so real and so powerful that if we all just adopt that like humility and humanity to like say, I don't know everything, I know very little, I'm learning so much, thank you for like telling me about your story, you know, like thank you for opening up to me and sharing like where you come from. So that to me is the most important thing, like making friends.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I have two questions for this interview left. So the one question is in terms of the music industry, do you believe that the music industry will invest in the metaverse and NFTs and Web3? And also too, what are some sources you can recommend for independent music artists who wants to get into the virtual spaces?
Well, the Make It app, I'll start from the last question. The Make It app offers you an immediate, like, start recording your music right now. You just need the app on your phone. And now the smart contract, I don't know what that smart contract says, because whatever that smart contract says is what the deal is. Actually, that's not true. I just recently saw that it was 40% for each artist and then 10% or 20% for like the platform. I think that's what it was. So I think apps like Make It app is an amazing app for musicians. There's an app called mintsongs.com. I haven't sold anything on that app yet, but they make it very easy to represent yourself on that app, and they pay the fees, and they give you like the heads up, hey, don't sell your NFT for more than $20. You know, you can make multiple copies, but don't sell it for more than that. I like that app. OpenSea, you know, as far as music, I think people still need to, yeah. So the first question was about what can labels do? Was that what it was?
I was asking, do you believe that the music industry will invest in the metaverse and Web3, and especially with NFTs?
Absolutely. I do think that they, you know, we interviewed the Metaverse Junkies, interview a new guest every Saturday. And we recently interviewed Tom LaRock, who I met on NFT.tips in the Clubhouse room there. And he's a friend of Brooke Ganser's, and he had a lot to say basically about a few years ago. He was trying to get like the record industry peoples that he knows, like some big people, like jump on board, like this is moving, like make, like bridge the divide, let's go, you know, but people are like holding on to their, like, you know what I mean? They're holding on to to the past, to what it was. So I think that labels have to see how they can empower their own platforms by really getting to the heart of the matter of the music that they're putting out. Who are they investing in? You know, taking the lead from the artist, like Madbop.events. Joelle Atkins is a co-founder, and she's an amazing DJ, and it's Russell Bundy and Joelle Atkins. And so I've been actually writing with Joe Nix out of the UK. I mentioned him earlier, and I met Joe on Clubhouse, and we've done like 19 songs together, and he has a platform called Hardistry.xyz, and he writes his own contract. And we wrote a song for the Ukraine effort as well, that all was bloomed live on Clubhouse. So it's these, like, I think labels need to like be really malleable and like kind of be like for the artist, like boutique labels. Like, I love this artist, I see what they're doing, and this is our small community, and we're gonna find out which artists those artists love. Which artists, like a very collaborative effort of an artist label, an artist kind of label, meaning that the circle keeps growing. You have the first circle, then you have the next one, right? We keep reaching and uplifting more artists. because, you know, as you know, on the radio, in movies, you know, the music that gets synced and licensed, the music that gets heard, those songs are played like over and over again, and they're, you know, but not everybody's listening to the radio anymore, right? Not so much, right? What are we doing? We're on iTunes, we've got our libraries, we see the hot list, like who's on the hot list, you know. It's a very good question, Asia, because I think the labels, you know, they define generations, you know, they made stars, superstars, they gave so much, but at the same time they took so much. They shelved artists. They gave artists record deals so that their music would never come out, so that they would, you know, because they were like a competitor for one of their big artists, you know, somebody they wanted to put their money in. I think it has I think, to answer your question as efficiently as possible, I think honing the target, like what is the reason, why are we doing this? So if everybody's able to make a living and everybody's able to like do well, why wouldn't we want to invest in those kind of platforms and systems, you know, like a reconstructing, you know, like it's like a paradigm shift. You like artist-based labels that uplift the artist and the communities that support them, because if communities and NFTs have a little bit of the artist within purchasing the NFTs, they're part of the artist community. They're always making, if the artist becomes successful, or when the artist becomes successful, they get to have that success too, because they bought into it. So it's like the label is like, you could call, I mean, I don't know if there'll ever be one big label bigger than the next anymore. I think it's all changing, and people are scrambling and they're afraid of, you know, they don't want to lose their income. They don't want to lose so they have to change. They have to be malleable. So I think that artist savvy labels that want to uplift the artist and not hold anybody back, those are going to be the successful labels, because like Strawberry Hills Records, they want to do a distribution deal. You know, I would love to be represented and distributed by you know, Sony Orchard through Morris Mills, who's this amazing musician, who's Prince's cousin, actually. Morris Mills is a badass guitar player that I met on Clubhouse. Clubhouse. There used to be the Clubhouse label, right?
Right.
The Clubhouse label, or the FUNKYiPUPPETS records. IPC said, let's do FUNKYiPUPPETS records. You know, so maybe that is it. The artist is the label. They bring up they give the deals, they give the education, they teach the platform, they get the music out, but you need the connection to the film and TV world, the sync agents. There's sync agents who they want half, they want 50%. If they get your song on whichever movie, they want to take half of that because they made the connection, you know. So I don't know if it's a matter of people saying, well, I'll take less. I'll split it with you equally. They call that in songwriting equal splits, like Nashville. Like you give one little bit, you get an even split. But I mean, some artists are like, well, wait, that's not fair. I wrote most of the song. Why do they get like an equal share of my chunk? Well, they brought it to the next level. So I'm with that. Like, can you bring me to the next level? Equal splits. You know, sure. In collaborations with NFTs too, you know, like I don't have money to pay somebody to play on my record. I have people who want to work with me because they like what I do and I like what they do. So like there's an artist out of Cameroon. His name is Saint Lanes. I met Saint Lanes through Lisa Lavender, who I met on NFT.tips. And, you know, we were in a Mad Bop room talking about like the next Mad Bop event, because Mad Bop puts on events in cryptovoxels. Cryptovoxels is this 3D kind of Roblox world where you can build your, you know, you can build your venue. You can have stores, you can have things for sale. You can have a DJ live performing. My husband's working in the bathroom now. It's probably why he came down, was to tell me, Vessy, I got to start working on the bathroom. So yeah.
Yeah, and last but not least, where can people find you on social media, and how can people reach out to you in terms of any questions pertaining to music or NFTs, Web3, and all that type of stuff?
Well, at this point, I'd like to ask you to be my agent. So just get in touch with Asia Bloodworth. I'll hook you up. I mean, like, I have, Vessy Mink at Gmail is my email, and Linktree, linktr.ee/Vessy Mink. They can find me at my Linktree. I have everything, all the things that I'm doing, and I'm adding to that as well. But the best way would be through you, Asia. Let's do even splits. Asia, let's uplift.
Yes, uplift and, spread positivity. And also,
Yes.
they can find you on Clubhouse as well.
Yes, on Clubhouse. Yes, on Connect.Club. And I go to Twitter. Twitter Spaces is an amazing tool. Now they have a new thing called Twitter Communities, where I believe I'm following you on Twitter. I can invite you. I created a NFT community, NFT and pranayama, which is yoga, like meditation, NFTs and meditation. But BK turned me on to NFT communities because it's a very powerful tool. Once you mod somebody, they can actually have their own community. And he said to really give the communities a name that are like overreaching. Like they're the biggest community on Twitter communities is like a photography one. It's just called photography. They've got like 16,000 people, and one Twitter share, you can reach 16,000 people, which means if you get that to 1 million, you could probably advertise on there. You could have, like, if there's a car company, like BK's got one of his projects is called the Scree car, which is the first Metaverse car. It's SCRIZ. And I always see it like going from one Metaverse to the next as fast as possible. That's going to be the people who have like their hand on the money, I suppose, and the idea and the patents. Yeah. So the best way to get around in this Metaverse is to build good relationships and to be true to your word. Keep your word.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Vessy, for jumping onto the show. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, your story, and your experiences. It's been fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Asia. You've been amazing. I want to interview you next now, if we could set that up.
Sure.
All right. We could get you on the Mark Lee show on LinkedIn too. Would be really cool.
All right.
So really great.
All right. Sounds cool. Thank you so much for jumping onto the show. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to click the bell for notifications. Also follow me on my social media platforms and visit my website, asiaticbird.com, and be on the lookout for more interviews involving Web3, NFTs, crypto, and the Metaverse.